youth wrestling for me is never really about the outcomes, just because whether it's the minute and a half periods, or whether it's the fact that no matter how good these kids are, nerves, anxiety, that stuff happens earlier in your career.
Hmm.
Injuries, we were just talking about, like, injuries are more likely to happen with adolescent age kids, I think, just for the fact that they don't know the difference between injured and hurt, and what you
Correct.
can continue. There's so many things that happen with youth wrestling. But when I reached out to people about who to have on, my goal for creating a podcast or a conversation about youth wrestling was specifically just to get people aware and oriented with, like, names of kids who are on the path to becoming, state national champions, at the high school level, so that we know who these kids are. We can, promote them, encourage them, all the things that you kind of need to keep them involved in the sport, and push them down the path of, like, elite performance. So it was never really about how perfect it was, or
Hmm.
how great the outcomes were, but just the fact that you clearly know who's wrestling in youth wrestling, at the highest level. So I'm just pumped that you're back. So again, Jeremy Mack, you're the youth wrestling guru correspondent. You know everything about what's going on with youth wrestling, it seems. Last week, or the week before that, we did picks for the IKWF state tournament, and like I was just showing you, going through the results, that you had 11 perfect picks. You had the finalists and the champions correct. You had 43 out of 64 correct finalists. And you had 16 individual champions picked correctly, and then you had three others where you had the right finalists, but the opposite guy won. So, for me, I thought it was very impressive. I couldn't have done this if you gave me, 6 months time to come up with it. But yeah, so how was the state tournament in general? And what did you think about your picks? What did you see?
I thought it was pretty good. A lot of the weights, like I said, there were coin flip matches. In the finals, like 74 with Carter and Reese, great matchup. Whereas a couple other weights, I think 126 in particular, I said the bracket was loaded. Uh, that was the one bracket I said, if I remember correctly, that I could be so off on it because you can make an argument for literally half the bracket to come out on that bracket, and Ayler being the one that came out was very impressive in that bracket. Um, so, like, for the most part, like, all these kids are great kids, very solid wrestlers, and they should all be proud of themselves. They all put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, I would agree. It is takes a lot to show up and compete. Um, so just in general, the state tournament, were you impressed with was there more competition with some of these guys that you thought maybe they had a clear spot, clear route, and somebody surprised you? Did you get a chance to even watch too much wrestling, seeing how you're down there coaching?
What to be honest, I didn't do much coaching. Especially with my kids, I wanted to just sit back and watch. And at the end of the day, they're in good hands with Elias and the coaching staff at Bolingbrook. But for the most part, I thought the kids that were going to make the finals were kind of clear cut for the most part. Again, with few exceptions, they there were some people that the matches I thought were close. They, for the most part, they were. I know I made the comment. I think Barry Antos got OW for the event, and very deserving. He either teched or pinned his way through. I think Woody did as well. Uh, I laughed because I think when Barry Antos with Eli Miller, I said if anyone could keep it remotely close or any like little hiccup for Barry Antos, not that he would lose, but if someone was going to make somewhat of a match of it, and I know this sounds kind of like sarcastic, and it's not. So I hope if Eli Miller's family's listening, it's not anything negative. But he got pinned, but in the third period, and I know that sounds like Barry Antos did what I thought he would do. You know what I'm saying? Very tough kid. But I didn't think, for the most part, I mean, he pinned everybody in the first, second, tacked them, had no trouble with anybody.
Yeah. So he
You
got
know,
the OW in the senior division?
yes, he did. And like I said, unfortunately, some of the like it's not like high school where now there's a little more seating involved in high school.
Yeah.
With IK, it's like a blind draw with sectionals, and then they just plug it in accordingly. So sometimes the best match could be in the quarters, semis, so on and so forth. Heck, sometimes it could be in the first, second round, depending how your bracket shapes up. Uh, but that said, some brackets were the best two kids in the finals, and that's always the best case scenario, but not often does that happen.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I wanted to bring up that I thought was pretty impressive, and I believe this is the weight class. I'd have to go back and look, but you can remind me. But was it at the 103-pound weight class that Robles wrestled all the way through to the
Correct.
final,
Correct.
and he lost at sectionals?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So that was the one pick that I remember going back to, and I was like, you said, actually, I think he's actually got a great route to the finals, and he ended up doing it. So that was pretty impressive, I thought.
Yeah, and that's the thing with IK, or I don't know how IU does their format. I don't know if they have a better seating criteria like high school does, but for IK in particular, look at if you make state, and it's no different than the NFL or any other sport. At the end of the day, if you make state, you got to be your best at that moment on those 2 days, or in for IK those 2 days that is. And it doesn't matter what you did before, how you got there. It's on you to make whatever happen. So in Kane's case, I believe he took third at sectionals, and it was the best thing for him as far as where he was positioned in the bracket. And I think 110, and then there's another weight. I had McClure winning it. But I did, if I remember correctly, I said that if there's one kid that could beat him, it'd be Gloucester, and he did it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think if we went back and listened, every caveat that you made was pretty good caveat. So picking what you did was pretty impressive. I wanted to bring up who was, another dominant performance. What did you think of Brendan Norton's performance in the finals? I thought that was a pretty. Out of all the finals, I didn't watch all the finals, so
Mhm.
you just told me Barriantis pinned Miller. Um,
Correct.
um, I saw Norton tech fall. His bonus.
Yeah, Luke Banis.
Yeah, was there any other standout performances in the finals that were pretty dominant? How did that Eddie Woody finish up?
Eddie, like I said, of all the kids, um, anyone who won, hats off to them. I mean, they won for a reason. There's no flukes involved here, I don't believe. But for Woody in particular, he's on another level. I mean, there was at no point did anybody have him in danger. Again, just like Barrientos, he either teched or pinned his way through. I kind of expected that. I talked to his dad a lot throughout the year. I've known, sorry, tongue tied. I've known Eddie since he was 6. I mean, he's been that kid, and it's just gotten better every year and separated himself from the rest of the people. I think Devin Ayler had a heck of a run at 126 in particular. Like that bracket was so nasty. I know we talked about Connors, but what Ayler did, I mean, he was very dominant in the tournament. But Woody, yeah, I think if Barrientos didn't get it, I think Woody was well deserving of it, just because, like I said, there was nobody remotely on his level in that bracket.
Yeah. How did the Klitschko
Kucherov?
versus Schultz match end up?
Schultz was winning that match. That's another match. If that was at 96. Oh no, I'm sorry, I take that back.
90.
That was at 90. Um, Hang on one second. I knew I was missing one here. Schultz lost to Kucherov. I believe Schultz was winning, and I don't know if it was a late takedown. Towards the end of the match, with literally seconds to go. Very good match. I would have Landon in there is very solid on the bottom side from NWO, but I would have liked to seen Kucherov and Schultz in the finals. Like I said, it doesn't always work out with the two best kids are in the finals, and that's no disrespect to Nair. but Klitschroff and Schultz were the clear cut two best kids in that bracket. Klitschroff, he's another kid. Um, I'm not sure what he's doing for high school yet. I know Woody's moving. I know where a lot of these kids are going to high school for that. Like I know these families, a lot of them. Some of these kids are only in seventh grade, so they got time ahead of them. But I'm not sure if Klitschroff is in eighth grade or what he's doing for next year for high school or not. But um, the kid's solid, very solid, as is Colton.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to talk throughout the summer and speculate on where some of these kids will be ending up. I know that that's a hot topic as part of high school wrestling and like whether it's a public school or private school, people are definitely hoping and encouraging and interested in getting good kids to their high school program. So I'm sure that will be a fun podcast to talk about. So in the meantime, just take some notes and write down what you're hearing on the out there as to what's happening. We'll revisit that one for sure.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem.
yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you thought was how did the tournament run with all the added individuals and stuff? Any good, any bad?
So for the added weight, or I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say weights. For the added people, them adding girls to boys and novice and senior state. I believe Bantams and intermediates are going to be going this weekend out in what is it? Not Peoria. That's next year. Decatur or whatever.
Yeah,
Is it Decatur? Correct.
it's somewhere close to Peoria.
Yeah. So that I thought it was good. Um, I would have liked to seen just for the kids' sake. It's always nice to wrestle on a stage. Like you got that platform, literally that platform, to really showcase yourself on. I think this year, in years past, you don't leave state. Like when you're even as a in the stands, you're not leaving state till like in the late evening, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And being that it started at like 3 p.m., the only thing that was a little uh, different was the inconsistency of the scheduling. Whether it be moving up or moving back the schedule, like everything was on the fly. But I would have liked to seen a stage there, and I've said that before. It's nice that the girls got to perform there as well. I think one scenario I would have liked to see possibly, and this would have made it where they could have had the stage and had girls also um, be able to wrestle in front of everybody, is being that how to word it. You had, if you're going to remove the stage, but yet you save that much time in the tournament where you're starting at 3 p.m. instead of 6, 7 p.m. That would have easily allowed for a stage to be put together and erected. But as far as girls, I think one thing that would have saved a lot of time throughout the tournament as well. If you're not going to have the stage there, is maybe have done girls on Sunday, because a lot of those brackets weren't as big as the boys, and that's to be expected. It's growing. It's phenomenal for the sport, but it's still in the infant stages, if you will. I mean, I know it's been around for a while, but as far as this, like IK State is what I'm referring to. It would have been nice maybe I get having to rent out the facility an extra day, but it would have had um, a little more consistency in the tournament. But outside of that, like to be honest, IK did a pretty good job. It was a little hectic getting in the arena in the beginning. Like even when warm-ups were starting, you probably had 200 kids outside. Um, trying to get in the doors. So some of those kids only had like at best 10 minutes to prepare for the first round, which is unfortunate, but it's a work in progress, I guess.
Yeah, I think everything is, and there's some good ideas and some bad ideas. The stage thing, I always think it's interesting, with that specific place. If you're not going to do a stage, I feel like you should have extended the stands all the way. Like how the stands are stopped.
What do you mean by that?
Like
Because
if you
it's an
see,
arena.
yeah, so if you see the arena,
Hmm.
like when you're down on the floor, there's an entire like extension of seats that could be extended all the way out. Um,
Hmm.
and instead, actually, I think I might have a photo to show you, but
I
I
know what
would
you're
just
saying now.
I wish they would have extended it as if like, in the hockey, when the hockey games are going on, the stands are extended all the way to
Correct.
the floor.
Mhm.
Again, that doesn't take anything other than a button. You just press the button, extend it, you get the fans closer to the finals, and then you could have 4 mats in one line as opposed to 4 in a square. Um, and I
Correct.
think that would have been cool because then at least it would have been on top. More people would have been on top of the action, and you could have put the girls on one section, the novice on another section, or girls on the one end, boys on the other, novice, split, whatever. And you could have had more fanning like on top of the action. It
Yeah,
seems
a
like
little up close
there's
and
just
personal.
yeah, it just seems like there's so much empty space on the floor where it's like, even at the high school state tournament, I think that if they put the mats together and um well, again, at the high school state tournament, I don't know if they can. I have to look at if you look in arena when there's basketball going on, you can see how close you can get to the action with stands. Sometimes in wrestling, it seems like because we put the mats down, we just put everybody so far away. Um, but either way, yeah, I thought that could have been interesting. But yeah, cool. Well, I thought it was good. I thought you were pretty excellent with your picks, um, and I was glad to kind of learn about some of these kids that are coming up. So I appreciate that, and yeah, we'll have to figure out what type of topic. I know you have one kid going into high school,
Correct. Dawson will be going into high school next year, and then Lincoln will be going into eighth grade.
so you'll still be in the arena of youth wrestling. You'll know still what's going on, and as these kids graduate and get into the high school, you'll have some information as well. So, yeah, I appreciate you coming on and just sharing your perspective and the information. So, if there's not anything else that you have, I'll let you go.
Yeah, no, just again, hats off to everybody who won it. Hats off to everybody that made the finals. Again, these are great kids. They put a lot of work into it. Um, it'll be interesting to see where these kids are next year. Like I said, I'm aware of where a lot of kids are going into high school. I think a lot of people are trying to keep it quiet so they could announce that themselves. Um, at least for now, you know. So because we all know from other people's situations, like sometimes problems arise with that, and but no, I hope the best of luck for all these kids, both in if they have another year in middle school, but more so hope the best for all of them and their furthering their journey in high school.